Last night on MasterChef Australia.
My next choice is curry powder. There's no curry powder.
We said goodbye to Andre in a sudden death taste test.
The beauty of my journey is that now I know that I want to be a chef.
Tonight, it's time for another masterclass.
For me, it's all about the product. It's all about the produce.
Learn how to make pork sausages and baked beans.
Marriage made in heaven, Gary.
Marriage made in heaven. Off you go, then.
Salmon with artichokes. And for dessert, a sweet chocolate cigar.
Christmas in July, do you think?
Christmas in July.
Walking into the kitchen as the final six, yeah, it was a pretty incredible feeling. We're it. This is it. We've made it through 7,500 applicants. It's quite bizarre.
We've got to really be listening 100% to Gary and George throughout this to make sure that we're on our A game next week.
So we've lost Andre, the sudden death taste test.
I have to say my next choice is curry powder. There's no curry powder in this curry.
Andre, unfortunately, you no longer have a place in the MasterChef kitchen. How do you feel about that?
I'm devastated, and I don't see the last week, and I can't be Australia's first MasterChef. There is a real positive for me, and that is tomorrow, and that is going to knock on doors to become a chef.
Chris, you feel lucky, or did you have a few ingredients in the bag that you were ready to pull out?
I had a few ingredients in the bag. I've cooked many curries, so I'm quite familiar with the flavour profile, so...
Are you feeling confident?
Yeah.
Poe, how do you feel about Andre leaving? He was your close friend in the house?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, I'm a bit sad and quite shocked, but as soon as I heard that it was a curry, I kind of knew he was a bit gonski.
Why did you know he was going to be gonski?
Because I know that he doesn't really eat Indian food, and I think, as we all know, he's quite focused on cooking, you know, Italian food, and he's not that familiar with Asian ingredients. So for that reason, I thought he'd really struggle with that challenge.
So, big week in the MasterChef kitchen. We started off wrangling sausages. We had a few standouts there. We had a feta and rosemary lamb sausage. We had Poe. We had that sweet Vietnamese-style sausage. Brilliant efforts, really, really good. We also had our elder statesman dinner party, where you cooked a dish of your choice. You had $100 to go to Coles, spend it on whatever you wanted, and create a dish to present to our judges. And what an experience that was. I think you were all aghast when they turned up. So first up in Masterclass, we're going to take a look back at the Mystery Box Challenge. It was a bit of a surprise this week because instead of having ingredients inside the Mystery Box, there was a mincer.
The hell?
Did you know, Julie, when you took it off, what you'd be doing?
No.
No, you didn't.
No,
I don't think were the sausage skins there? The casings?
I thought they were noodles. I thought it was some kind of noodle
they were
machine.
noodles? Oh, my goodness. Pretty strange noodle. Had you made sausages before, Julie?
Oh, never, no.
Never. The big problem we had with all of your sausages, the texture wasn't quite right. They were very grainy, and they weren't the mixture that was inside wasn't cohesive and wasn't firm. So today in Masterclass, I'm going to show you how to make a very simple pork sausage.
And to go with Gary's pork sausages, I'm going to show you how to make homemade baked beans.
So to help me with the sausages, Julie, I'd love you to come and help. You going to hang around, George?
No,
or...
I think I'll leave you to it, and I'll come back and see how you go with it.
OK, fantastic. A few of you are very confused about what the proportions were, lean meat to fat. I use a third fat to, not lean meat, but well-streaked meat, so it's got a little bit of fat in already. So that's what we've got here. We've got a pork fat, all right, which basically we've diced up. So nice and easy. So if you remember that third proportion, you'll always end up with a nice, succulent sausage. Bit of garlic, and then some very simple Italian-style seasonings. So I've got about 2 tablespoons of fennel, 2 tablespoons full of black pepper, a tablespoonful of allspice, and about half a tablespoonful of chilli, okay? And 2 cloves of garlic. I've got some fennel seed, which actually will toast. So if you can pop that in the pan and just to release the aroma. Yeah, not far off. So we can chop our garlic just quickly, and then we've toasted those fennel seeds just so that you get that lovely sort of toasty fennel aroma, which is what we're after. And then what I want you to do, Julie, is just put all those dry spices onto the pork mixture.
Okay.
And also the pork fat. So you've got about a cup of pork fat. There's, 3 cups of the diced pork belly. And then in with all the other spices. So black pepper, the fennel seeds. And you want a fairly specific amount of salt. In this case, I've got about a tablespoonful and a half. But a good sausage is going to have anywhere between 3 grams and 5 grams of salt per kilo, right? So it seems quite a lot, but it is in effect a slightly cured product. I've taken out about a third of the meat from that sort of marinated mixture, and I'm going to cut that up into a small dice, because many of you did this. You kept a little bit of dice and then folded it through, so you had the right mindset in terms of trying to create a chunky sausage, but you also need some fine force meat to then bind that all together. So we'll mince that through then, Julie.
Okay.
How are we going, Julie? Good?
Good.
It's all going through okay?
Yep.
How's the mixture looking?
Looks beautiful. It's still got whole fennel seeds and
Ooh, love those hot fennel seeds.
Yeah.
Right, so I've just diced all that up fairly roughly, and it may seem a bit weird, to the person watching at home that you've got big chunks of fat in there as well. But what we've got to remember is that all salamis and preserved meats, sausages, force meats, have all got quite a substantial amount of fat in. Not only does it help preserve it, it also uses up, the lesser cut, the not so good cuts of meat, and it's also essential for flavour, let's face it. Right, this is the part that I think you went wrong, all of you. So you've got to mix this around, right? So you need to get your hand in there, and I want to see it being bashed about until it's so sticky that it's hard to get off your fingers. You enjoying that? Lovely texture, isn't it? It's beautiful. Nothing better. It's like making bread, making sausage. You've got to get your hands in there. It's got to be cold because it's part of the process of developing those proteins in the meat. And also that bashing around is also mixing all the fat and, again, developing the proteins in the meat, which makes it nice and sticky, but then gives it texture. That'll do. Clean off your fingers. Or let's see your fingers. Grab it, hold it up, hold a big lump up and see if it sticks. Yeah, it's pretty good. Open your fingers up, and you're getting any little strands? Sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice and sticky anyway.
It is.
Right. So that's how sticky... That's all right. Sorry. A little bit on the floor, it's important. And it's nice to get it into the grips of your shoes, so you walk it all around the house. That's important. It's always important to find a bit of sausage mix next to the fireplace. So just to remind you, important that you get that stickiness, important that when you hold your hand up that it doesn't move, important that you get those little strands in between your fingers, because that tells you that the mixture's firm enough and cohesive enough so that you're not going to end up with a grainy sausage, right? Something that you can also do as well, and we'll just do a little bit, is we'll just fry. Do you want to fry a little bit off, just in a little patty? You know what's a good idea is just wet your hands.
Oh, okay.
Wet your hands, pull a little bit out, and then make like a little patty. And this is to test the flavour, the salt. Yep, like a little burger. And we'll see whether that's any good.
Coming up,
Nearly there, Julie. Nearly there, Julie.
Julie gets the giggles in the MasterChef kitchen.
Shut up.
And later, the perfect accompaniment.
Marriage made in heaven, Gary.
Baked beans.
I'm really not a fan of baked beans, but I can change my mind.
Then a hearty roast salmon with chicken and pancetta.
That's perfect.
And a mouth-watering dessert.
So homemade pork, fennel and chilli sausages with homemade baked beans. Right, now, these are the sausage casings. We've got natural sausage casings. Now, they come normally packed in salt, right? These are sheep's casings, which are slightly smaller than, say, a pig's casing. And what's important is to make sure that you run water through these casings to make sure that you get, you know, all of that taint off it.
If you can't get natural sausage casings, should you bother with the artificial ones?
I wouldn't. I do a skinless sausage in preference. You know, I don't see the point in doing a beautiful sausage mix and then sticking it inside a commercial casing. I think the reason for that is because it's easy and it's cheap. All right? So basically you're going to end up with, you know, like this, all right? And you're just going to run that water through. And I always suggest that you run that water through a couple of times to make sure that you've got no taint on those casings at all. And you can buy these from, you know, any good butcher. You can order them. It's like things like suet, all right? They'll order it in for you. So, Julie, you've done your little patty. You're going to just cut off a bit and we'll try that.
It's delicious.
Well, it's tasty, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Really tasty. Right, OK, so on with the sausage nozzle. It's actually important to keep the casing a little bit wet because, number one, it helps it go onto the sausage nozzle. Yeah, but what you need to do is you need to now feed, you know, step sideways. Looks a bit rude, but, you know, has to be done. Basically, you feed the sausage casing onto the tube. All right, so just put a little bit more on.
Okay.
Julie's good at it. Nearly there, Julie. Nearly there, Julie. That's better. 2 hands. I think there's plenty on there. What we might do is just cut off...
But I'm having fun.
Yeah, cut off that. I don't tie the end, right? Because the first bit that goes through, you're going to have a bit of air. Yep. And then we'll start the first of the mixture going through. And you want to do it so that you're holding tension on the skin, so that you're only letting it out when you feel that you've got enough of the sausage mix in it, right? All right. Okay. And what we can do is, just because we didn't tie the end up, all right, we can just, there'll be a little bit of air in, which we'll be able to remove, and you just start it off starting to wind.
Okay.
And you've got to keep that on, all right? It's coming through?
Yeah, there's got a big bubble.
It's all right. Let the bubble through. That's fine.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because what you want to do is just keep the sausage meat in the tube all the time, and then you won't end up with massive air bubbles.
Twisted.
Yeah, there you go. Every time you pull that plunger out and don't put the meat back in, you know, and you plunge in a load of air, then you'll end up with a load of air in the sausage. That'll do.
Okay, that'll do.
All right. So pull that off. Right. Where you've held onto it, these are really tight. So what you do is you feed the mixture along, because what's going to happen is if it's really tight, it's going to expand a wee bit, right? So just feed the mixture along the intestine, all right? And you can also take air out at the same time, all right? Yep. So you'll find that if you've got a big air pocket, you can twist the sausage off where the air pocket is. But you don't see that's a bit better? Because what's going to happen is when you're going to twist it, what's going to happen? It's going to tighten the mixture up. Yeah. All right? So what we're going to do is we're just going to tie off one end now, right? And under. And then you can push that knot into the sausage, right? And then what you want to be able to do is you want to squeeze the length of the sausage that you want, right? And then just twist it. So you have a go at that. And just keep going along. And if you have to, we'll just take off a little bit of the mixture from the bottom, all right?
With the sausages, if you wanted to put fennel or onion, if you wanted to put it in the sausage, should you cook it off first?
You mean fresh fennel?
Yeah, fresh onion.
Oh, yeah, OK. Yep. It really depends. If you're going to put a fresh ingredient like that in it, it's not going to last. It's actually going to ferment inside the sausage. Okay. So you've got to be really careful how you use it. Make them use them the next day. Okay. Otherwise, they're not going to last. Did you do it? Let's have a look. It's pretty good.
Oh, it's come untwisted.
OK, so we'll get these sausages in the pan, all right? And remembering that if you actually put those in the fridge and let them dry out, they'll be less prone to actually bursting. So we need to start these off on a really, really low heat. So if you pop that on and put a little bit of oil in, and we'll just put that string in. They're going to take about 10 to 15 minutes to really cook. They can do with a bit of a rest, and they will bleed a little bit of fat. but that's fine. I think that's beautiful.
Thank you.
Off you go. Thanks very much for the help.
No
and we'll
worries.
get George back in to make his baked beans.
Wow. They look amazing.
Smell good, don't they?
Beautiful.
Smells lovely.
Well,
So,
to go with those sausages, Gary, I'm going to make some baked beans.
Next,
We've got these beautiful beans here.
George's homemade baked beans surprise everyone.
I don't usually like baked beans. They're lovely.
so homemade pork, fennel and chilli sausages with homemade baked beans.
Marriage made in heaven, Gary.
Marriage made in heaven. Off you go then.
All right.
Let's go.
Baked beans. They might sound simple, but for me, it's all about the product. It's all about the produce. So I'm quite fortunate we've got these beautiful beans here out of a region of Greece called Kastoria. These are black beans and white beans. And the black beans are grown near a volcanic part of that region, hence why they've got this colour. Now, with pulses, some pulses call for soaking them, but some you don't need to. So things like lentils, necessarily, they don't need to be soaked overnight. You can pretty much cook them from dry. When you soak them, basically water, cover them, leave them outside or in the fridge, up to you, and just let them hydrate overnight. So we strain all the water off. Just over a cup of beans. Just back in the bowl. Same with the white beans. You can use other beans, butter beans, cannellini beans, chickpeas if you like. The choice is yours.
The black beans that you've used, do they have a significantly different taste to the white beans? Does the volcanic...
Not necessarily. I think it's more just the colour. Now, quite simply, lots of olive oil. And we throw in our beans first. Yeah, into a hot pan. In that, 1 onion and a clove of garlic. 1 carrot that's been diced. A stick of celery that's been peeled and diced.
Beautiful. The colour of these beans.
They're just beautiful.
Just look absolutely fantastic. I really love those.
Some thyme that I've just tied up with some string, just so I don't lose it in the beans. I can pull them out at the end. And bay leaf.
Sounds like heavy rain on a tin roof.
It does, Gary.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
Nice winter dish.
Nice winter dish. So all of that in. Now, something really important is I don't season the beans with salt at the beginning. I season them at the end. And what I find is if I throw salt in at the start, it retards the skins and they become really tough. OK, so season at the end. 500 mils of stock, about half a litre. A tin of tomatoes. Go straight in. Lid on. And let them cook. Really low heat for about 1.5 hours to 2 hours, just until those beans become nice and tender. Okay, you don't want to have any resilience in them. You don't want chewy skins. They have to be cooked through. Or you can pop them in an oven, 160 degrees for about 1.5 hours, and they'll be fine as well. So to go with our sausages, baked beans, some grilled bread.
Beautiful, sounds good.
Good lashing of olive oil, and just some garlic that I'm going to cut in half and just rub, and we can rub it again once we've toasted it off. There you go, Gary.
Good,
Beautiful.
onto the grill.
Right, to finish our beans, they've been on for about 1.5 hours to 2 hours, and just make sure you check one to make sure they're nice and tender. Gary, I'll let you do the honours.
If you're going to change the bean to, say, smaller bean, a chickpea or, smaller beans, do you adjust the cooking time? And if you do, does that affect the sauce?
You've got to just keep checking them sort of every, 15, 20 minutes, just to make sure they're not going to overcook. I mean, a chickpea's going to cook quicker than a bean of that size.
OK.
They're nice and tender?
Lovely. Just really fresh, really nice acidity on the tomato.
Yep.
All the spices and the herbs come through, the thyme and the bay leaves.
I like
Absolutely
that,
beautiful.
just a little splash of vinegar.
Oh, that's nice.
Bring them out a little bit.
Just sharpen it up a little bit.
Sharpen it up. What I like to do is add a little bit of feta. Just crumble some feta over the top. And that will just give it some nice creaminess. To that, fresh mint. Lots of flat leaf parsley as well. You still want to see a whole bean in the dish. So be really careful you don't overcook them, because you can. There you have it. These are my baked beans. These are the ones I like to eat. Not the ones out of a can, with feta, mint and parsley.
Last sausages coming out of the pan.
Wow.
George, we're going to put these together.
Yeah.
So how do you want to pop them in?
Just, yeah, get them on. They look beautiful.
Like Desperate Dan.
Ooh, maybe that bread as well. Oh,
lovely.
I don't know what you guys are eating, but we're having this.
Sausage and beans.
So there you have it, Gary's pork and fennel sausages and my homemade baked beans.
Top tips on making sausages. If you're going to try and make them at home, start off with the basics that are going to give you a high level of reward. So a bit of chilli, some fennel, black pepper, a bit of allspice. These are classic sausage seasonings. Third of the quantity of lean meat has to be fat, pure fat. When you mince it, you have to work the mincemeat. It's got to stick to your hand. Otherwise, you're going to end up with this really crumbly, sort of sawdusty type sausage. And also, when you're cooking them, for those people that are at home, when you stick them on the barbecue, you should hear that little gentle sizzle. It's like this little comforting lullaby of a sizzle on the barbecue.
So some tips on making baked beans. You know, buy beans like you would a great steak. You know, buy good beans. You know, go and source the best ones you can find. Don't put salt in at the beginning, because you'll retard the skins and they'll be really tough.
Julie, do you want to come up and taste all your hard work?
Wow, wow.
That's beautiful. It's chewy. The fennel's really strong in that. Peppery. It's really lovely. I don't usually like baked beans, but they're lovely. They're really good.
Poe, Julia and Chris, do you want to help yourself to a sausage?
I'm really not a fan of baked beans, but they're gorgeous. Changed my mind.
Oh my God. Really good.
Oh, the spice in that's beautiful.
After the break,
Let's have a go.
simple steps to filleting a whole salmon.
You're going to have to start at the tail and go up on that lateral line.
Then,
Okay, cigar.
a chocolate cigar that will melt in your mouth.
There's not much to say, but gorgeous.
So next in Masterclass, we're going to look back at the invention test. Now, the theme for the invention test was Christmas in July. You've got to give us a gorgeous Christmas theme. Christmas in July. And Poe, you got to go into the pantry first and pick from 3 pairs of ingredients. Remind us what you picked. What's your decision?
Fish and chocolate.
Fish and chocolate.
I was pleased in the end. However, it did get us in the bottom 2.
Justine, your salmon was cooked perfectly. You cooked a whole salmon with Julie. Well done. It looks beautiful. It's nice and juicy.
That's a fantastic effort. Well done.
So the dish that I'm going to show you, I think, is a bit more wintry. We touched on the fact that salmon and red wine is a good combination, a classic combination. So that's what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to do a tranche of roasted salmon with Jerusalem artichokes, chicken wings, bacon, shallots and garlic, with a chambord or red wine sauce. And a tranche in French just means a big slice, a big cut. Justine, I'd like you to come up and we'll do the salmon together. Right, Justine, you want to grab the salmon out of the fridge? There's a big whole piece in there. Now, you did this when we were on the boat doing the wedding. Did you actually take them off the bone?
No, I didn't. They were off the bone. They were already in their tongue.
Comfortable doing this?
Yeah, I guess so. Probably not as good as you.
Okay, all right, let's have a go. So first of all, you want to go behind the head. Okay, on one side, behind the gill, behind the head. Behind the gill and head on this one. But basically, you want to put the knife in at the top of the fillet, right? And you go right the way down the lateral line. So we're following the spine right down the middle, okay? And I've got the tip of the blade on a slight angle, right? Because I'm actually running it along the rib bones, okay? And I go right to the bottom. There are little rib bones that finish around about here. Okay, now, obviously, you've got to push your knife through those. And when you get to about here, there's a bit where you can just freely put the knife in. So I actually take that off up to that point. Now, you can, if you want, just clip the bones and go straight the way through. Now I'm going to start you off, because I know it's going to be a little bit hard. And I'm going to just go in there, right, so you know where that's going to go. So you're going to have to start at the tail and go up on that lateral line. You've got to sort of understand, number one, where the knife's going. And rather than lots of stabbing, try and draw, try and use, that's it, exactly that. You want long, sliding action. And then what you want to do is turn the knife round, right, and go round through this way. You see what you're doing is you're exposing that?
Yep.
All right, do it one more time, close to the bone. That's it. That's it, brilliant. Once you're in there like that,
yep,
you need to hold the fish nice and firmly, and you need to push down on the bones.
Yep.
And what I always suggest is you do a couple, and then you have a little look to see where you're going. But you've got to hold that fish firmly, put that hand here, and keep the blade slightly turned onto the bone. Slightly turned onto the bone. That's it. That's it. Right, now when you pick it up, try and support it as you turn it over. What we're going to do is I'm going to just chop these bones, so I'm actually going to use this for my sauce. Then what I do is I run the blade along there, and then that exposes all of the pin bones. And you've just got to remember that the pin bones run in a line, equal distance apart. Use that finger to feel, and these two fingers to pinch. Anybody got any questions at this stage?
I found out just recently, like barramundi doesn't have...
Those little pin bones?
Yeah. Are there any other fish?
Well, look, most of the flatfish don't. You know, so if you think about a sole or, something like that, then most of them don't. Right, Justine, so what we're going to do is I'm just going to straighten these up, and I want basically 2 fillets that are going to be the same. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to sandwich them together like this, right? And then I'm going to tie them. So we're going to have a nice sort of roasting piece, I suppose, all right? So what I want you to do is tie in the centre, all right? And just before you tighten it, just make sure that the skin is folded down, all right? So the way I do it is a little bit tight, turn it this way so it doesn't move, lift it up, and do a knot on top of it, okay? And then what I want you to do is do 2 either side and then bisect each one of those lines so it's nice, tidy, roasted salmon, all right? So the sauce for the salmon, we're going to utilise the salmon bones that we've just chopped up. And this is a classic style of red wine sauce that you use for fish. It's called Chambord. So a few of the salmon bones. And we're just going to put some colour on those, along with some shallots. Not a lot of colour, just enough to start the whole flavour process off. So a bit of garlic, a little bit of thyme. And what we want to see is, again, making a sauce, want to see some caramelisation. I'm going to use a couple of chicken wings in this recipe with a little roasty garnish, which sounds a bit strange, but it goes really well. It's very wintry. So I'm going a nice golden brown on the salmon bones and the wingtip. I want a splash of vinegar, red wine vinegar, and a splash of port, and then a good old glug of red wine, okay? And then what I'm going to allow that to do is just simmer and just take on some of the flavour from that caramelisation, the bones, the shallots, the garlic and the thyme. Because you can cook that for 5 to 10 minutes and strain it and get a fantastic flavour in the sauce. And Justine, that looks beautiful, doesn't it?
Yeah, it looks good.
Are you pleased with that?
Yep.
Well, we've got our sauce cooking. You've helped me prepare the salmon.
Yep.
Thanks, Justine.
Thank
Go
you.
and grab a seat. I think we'll start off caramelising the salmon. Bit of olive oil, bit of salt. And what I want to do as well is just have a few thyme leaves on these salmon. Also got some chicken wings, which I'm gonna pop in. Touch of salt, thyme leaves again. So they're just starting to colour. Pop the salmon into the pan. A little bit more olive oil. I'm just going to give that a few seconds on each side, and then I'm going to pop that into the oven.
Is there any reason you didn't season or put any herbs between the bits of salmon before you roasted it?
None at all. You can do that if you want. So I've got the oven on at about 180, all right? And we're going to pop that straight in and give that about 8 minutes or so on each side before we turn it over.
Next in Masterclass,
Like a surgeon, aren't you, Gary?
I am a bit of a surgeon, aren't I?
does the salmon stack up?
It's not a combination I ever would have thought of.
Come on, Jules. So we're making roast salmon with red wine sauce and a side of roasted artichokes. So I'm going to kick off with the roasted artichokes, thing that people look at in the fruit shop and sort of think it's ginger, but it's not. Once I peel them, they'll go straight into the lemon water. That will assist the artichoke not going brown, okay, or oxidising.
It's a lovely winter vegetable, Jerusalem artichoke. I love it. This always makes me think of winter. I think soup is probably the best way of serving them.
To cook our artichokes, duck fat. I mean, nothing better than salmon and duck fat. And, you know, I love just confying salmon in duck fat. I think it's the most beautiful flavour. So lots of duck fat. So in there, peeled shallots, whole cloves of garlic. Oh. They're absolute delicious. And that's, you know, look, that's winter.
Already winter.
Good crack of salt. You know, I like also, with the duck fat, a little bit of olive oil, because I think it just adds a nice flavour. Now the artichokes can go in. These should take, you know, 8 to 10 minutes to cook, and they'll be nice and tender. So to go with our artichokes, garlic, shallots, and of course the salmon, we've got this beautiful pancetta here, laid on greaseproof paper, another tray on top, into the oven, 180 degrees for about 10 minutes until they're nice and crisp. And you've got these beautiful little shards of bacon flavour goodness.
I'm going to finish off the sauce. And basically what's happened here is the red wine, port, and a little bit of vinegar have reduced down to form quite a rich glazy sauce. Now, I'm going to put a touch of stock in there. Not necessary, but it's just to sort of round out the flavour. So I'll bring that up to the boil, and then I'm going to strain that through a muslin cloth. I'm just going to dice some butter up, and then I'm going to monte that butter, or work that butter into the sauce so it's nice and silky and smooth. And the butter will round out that red wine, any of the acidity on the red wine. And then you'll notice what I'm doing is just swirling it around rather than whisking.
Ooh, I love that smell of bacon. I think I'm a bit like Homer in many ways. Butter that bacon.
It's good pancetta, though, isn't it?
Beautiful.
Look at that.
So, Gary, I'm ready. I've got the shallots, the garlic, and the artichokes that have been sort of confit, roasted in the duck fat.
Looks good. And the salmon's about to come out of the oven.
Beautiful.
So I'm going to just put a touch of butter in there, and I'm just going to finish it with some fresh thyme. Look, sometimes it's difficult to tell, you know, if it's cooked or not. A good indicator for me is that when you see sometimes there's those little bits of white protein that come out on the fish, then you know that it's cooked. We'll just lift these out onto some paper. So I need to take the string off this, George.
Yep. Like a surgeon, aren't you, Gary?
I am a bit of a surgeon, aren't I? I'm just going to put the sauce on the bottom of the tray rather than on the top, so we'll drop those in.
So a few artichokes.
A couple of chicken wings. Oh. Some celery leaf, which we just drop in.
And of course some of our crisp pancetta. I like it, you know, left whole. I don't think we need to crush that.
That's perfect. So there it is. That's our roasted salmon with Jerusalem artichokes, pancetta, and red wine sauce. Just make sure when you cook it that you don't overcook the salmon, obviously. You want it so it's nice and pink in the centre. Should be just warm to touch on your lip. If you do cook it on the bone, then I think, you know, even if you're a little bit scared, just pierce it with a knife and have a look. The little red wine sauce that I made, again, you know, you can use flavours like the salmon bones, the shallots, thyme that we used, the red wine. You've created a stock that can be reduced and made into a sauce, either by adding a touch of cream, a little bit of butter, or just the reduction in itself, which is perfectly pleasant. You could add a touch of oil to that stock at the end and end up with a vinaigrette.
My top tip for artichokes is peel them, get them straight into lemon water so they don't oxidise. That's mandatory.
Justine, would you like to come and try?
It's really good. It's all different flavours, like going on a little journey in there.
Christmas in July, do you think?
Christmas in July.
I think so too. Thanks, Justine.
I've never had salmon with red wine, so I'm looking forward to
It's a
this.
great combination.
What do you think? So all the bacon, the chicken wings and the salmon all work together, do you think?
Yeah, all classic. It's an amazing wintry dish.
Julie?
Oh, wow. Beautiful. It's not a combination I ever would have thought of, but I love it.
Coming up,
And then, of course, rum.
a rich modern dessert to melt away these cold winter nights.
Just over the top. So in this week's invention test, you had a pair of ingredients. One of them was chocolate.
Oh, tell us about your dessert.
My dessert was a deep-fried meringue, and I stuffed it with chopped up chocolate, chestnut puree and orange peel.
And this was a retry of a dish that you tried before in one of the other challenges. It was a deep-fried meringue.
Yes.
What did you put in it?
The thing that I was lacking was half corn flour and half plain flour,
Yep.
and no sugar in it.
This one, you've nailed it. This is fantastic. I love it. That's got the lightest texture to it. It's like a donut, but it's so light. It was good. Really, really impressive. It was my dish of the week, I think.
I'm going to make a chocolate, peanut and pistachio cigar, and we're going to serve that with an eggnog sabayon. Lucas?
Yes.
You want to come up and help me?
Absolutely.
So today we're making quite a simple dish when you think about it. Sabayon, basically egg yolks that have been flavoured with alcohol and sugar over a double boiler, and you whip it up until it's nice and light and fluffy. Now, rather than doing it the old school way, which is still a great way of doing it, we're going to do it a little bit modern. And this is called a thermomix. And what a thermomix does, it chops and cooks, and it holds it at a specific temperature, so you're not losing all those beautiful flavours. So get your pens ready. 5 egg yolks, go straight in there. 100 grams of caster sugar, a teaspoon of nutmeg, a little splash of orange juice, some vanilla extract, a good teaspoon of that.
How's that?
Beautiful. Just use your finger and get that off. And then, of course, rum, a good splash of that. Lid on. And then we need to get the time done first, so we want it on for 8 minutes. Oh. So 8 minutes, 80 degrees, on speed 4. And walk away. 8 minutes later, fresh, delicious sabayon. Right, so while the sabayon's cooking, Lucas, we're going to make our peanut, pistachio and chocolate cigars. We've got 200 grams of peanuts that have been toasted in the oven and just pounded up with a mortar and pestle, 200 grams of pistachios and 200 grams of dark chocolate melted. So if you can mix all three together, that'd be fantastic.
Do you ever salt these?
Yes, definitely. When I roast the peanuts off, a little bit of salt, just to bring out the oil and also the flavour. Also like to pop a little bit of honey in there, just 1 tablespoon of honey.
Let's fold that in.
Yeah, just mix that all together. It's a bit of a play on baklava in many ways, like a chocolate baklava.
Beautiful.
So we've got our mix of peanuts, pistachios, chocolate, honey, ready to go. Filo pastry and clarified butter, okay? So we know what clarified butter is. Into a pot, low heat, and what happens is the fat separates from the liquid, which is the milk, and what we want is that fat. First step is butter the sheet really well. We need to go 3 sheets high. Be a bit liberal, get lots of butter on there.
We love it.
Some key points, of course, about filo pastries. Have the filo pastry out at room temperature. Don't use it straight out of the fridge or it will crack. Number 2 is you need to work quickly or the filo pastry dries. Now, get the next layer on. Okay, just make sure. Now, brush again. Just put a cloth over the filo pastry so it doesn't dry. Okay, beautiful. It's good, Lucas. To make the first one, cut in half and then turn it around. Because we want, you know, beautiful little cigars, not big stumpy cricket bats. Right, we just make sure the mix is layered perfectly. Okay, we tuck in all the ends, clarified butter. Yeah. So really important to work quickly or else it cracks. Also important that you brush them with clarified butter. I'm going to get you to make one, Lucas. Yeah, you're rolling a fat one, yeah? So you got to tuck the ends over.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. And then brush the edges. And let's see how your one stacks up against mine.
Yeah.
My pastry chefs make these ones, caramel, salt and peanut butter ones. And they make them like really thin. They've got the touch. It's not bad, Lucas.
Okay, cigar.
Also, it's really important that the crease faces down on the tray. So when you're baking it, if the crease is on the top, it's going to fold open. Lucas, do you want to pop them in the oven? 180 degrees for about 8 minutes, nice and golden brown. So top tips for this dessert. Filo pastry, make sure it's at room temperature. Don't use it out of the fridge or it's going to crumble. Be quick with the filo pastry or it's going to dry out. If not, cover it with a wet cloth. So that's 8 minutes. The pistachio, peanuts and chocolate cigars have been in the oven for 8 minutes. Do you want to pop them out?
Yep.
They look delicious. So a little dusting of icing sugar. Our sabayon is ready to go. In a nice martini glass. One of these little fellas just over the top. And there you have it. A little sabayon of rum, nutmeg, and chocolate cigar with peanuts and pistachios.
Beautiful.
Finished?
Oh, look at that. It looks brilliant.
Try, boys.
Yeah, dip it in here. It's best out of the bowl.
How's that?
Oh, that's lovely. Lovely and sweet and smooth and creamy and warm too. Mm.
There's not much to say, but gorgeous. Nutty, chocolate, rum, sweet, beautiful.
Lucas, thank you, mate.
Thanks, guys.
Great job.
Cheers.
Cheers.
And your cigars look good, huh?
Yeah, they're good. Thank you.
Julie?
This might be a stupid question.
Stupid questions are good.
I'm just wondering if you would ever serve that chilled or if it would only ever be served warm.
There's a classic mousseline sauce, which is like that, but then you fold whipped cream in. That you could have chilled.
Oh, okay, nice.
But otherwise, no.
No.
It'd be the wrong texture in your mouth.
And it does separate. What will happen is all the liquid will go to the bottom and the the sugar and the fats basically separate.
But folding whipped cream through would prevent that?
Stop it, yeah.
Cool, thank you.
Another masterclass and the last one before finals week. So let's have a little drink and maybe something to eat.
These masterclasses are definitely a learning tool. Yeah, they're invaluable.
Is to another week and, of course, the last week before our finals. So best of luck. Next week is going to be huge. You need all the strength you can muster.
Well done. Good luck.
I don't know what's going to happen, but I know it's going to be full on, and I know that I'm going to have to bring everything I've got if I'm going to stay in the competition.
So you're all armed with your ammunition. Go into that final week and nail it. Good luck.
Next time on MasterChef Australia.
Congratulations, you have made it to the finals week of MasterChef Australia.
It's down to business for the final 6 in an epic week.
It's going to be extremely hard to stay this competition.
First up, our amateurs make a meal on a tight budget.
I put up less than $10 plates of food every night.
Before going to Greece in the invention test.
You should be playing to win.
I'll be very disappointed with myself if I'm not one of those final 2.
In a week's time, one of you will be crowned Australia's first MasterChef.
Who will crumble and who will be the last chef standing?
Oh, I'm not sure if I'm ready for this.
Want to see this week's exclusive diary room confessions? Log on to masterchef.com.au.